The third key that allows you to turn work off mentally when you're at home is establishing an effective landing zone. Now, putting a landing zone in place, which I'll define here in a minute, doesn't really work unless you apply the first two keys we've already discussed. Establishing non-negotiables, when you're going to work and when you're not. And then understanding the distinction between when work is completed and when it's done. Once those two are in place, now a landing zone can be implemented, which again is one of the most powerful tools in making this happen. So what is a landing zone? A landing zone is simply a period of time, might be 5 minutes, could be 25 minutes, between when you're working and when you're home. It's the transitionary time between work and home. Now, many of us today, we operate our offices out of our home. Some of you still have commutes, but many of us, the commute home is literally opening the door, and then there's home life right there waiting for you. It's chaos ensuing. So a transition, a landing zone, has become even more important when we're officing from home, because if we don't distinguish between work and home, if we don't have a period of time that allows us to move on from the workday and get centered and focused on what we're about to engage in at home, we'll never be fully present, and we'll never be able to shut work down and shut work off when we're at home. And there are three components to an effective landing zone. The first step in an effective landing zone is release. The second step is reload, and the third step is recenter. Let me break these down for you very quickly. Release. We have to release what happened from the day. Sometimes we have really tough, stressful days. Allow yourself a few minutes of time to acknowledge some of the things that had happened this day that were frustrating, some of the challenges, some of the things that were stressful, and choose to release the control over those things, at least until tomorrow. Yes, there's still problems to deal with. Yes, there's still things to work through. Yes, there's still fires that aren't completely put out, but I'm going to release that in this time because my work is done for the day. Not complete, it's done. So step one, release what you need to release from the workday. The second step in an effective landing zone is reloading. Now, reloading is really all about getting centered on tomorrow. So releasing is about looking back at today. Reloading is looking at, well, what am I going to focus on tomorrow? What are the three most important objectives that, based on what happened today, based on where I'm going, based on what's on the calendar, based on what I need to be focused on, what are the three most important outcomes and actions I'm going to take tomorrow? So look at your calendar, plan out your day, make sure that you're clear on when you're going to get those things done, what the three most important tasks or projects or outcomes are going to be for tomorrow. This allows you to not have to think about tomorrow when you're at home with your kids and your spouse, and it allows you to know that tomorrow has already been planned, so I don't have to worry about it tonight. Today has already been dealt with, so I don't have to worry about that either. The third key to an effective landing zone is recentering. So release, reload, and recenter. Recentering is when we get clear on what we're about to enter into at home. Years ago, I had someone once share with me this concept when it comes to work and home, and it really resonated with me and it stuck with me for years. He said that all of us have two shifts. We're all two-shift workers. And you've heard before, people, parents, maybe you've done this before, where you're working two different shifts. Shift number one for all of us is our day job. Shift number two is when we get home. And when we recognize that the most important shift that we're going to engage in our day is our second shift. I don't know about you, but I want to be a second shift parent, a second shift spouse. I don't want to have my first shift take all of my energy, all of my resources, all of my time, all of my mental capacity, so that I'm just kind of a potato when I get back home. So getting recentered is, I want to encourage you to actually envision and think about your kids. And if you're a person of faith, maybe even pray. Take a moment to pray for your wife. But at a minimum, if you're not a person of faith, take a minute to think about your wife. Think about your husband. Think about your kids before you enter that door, before you leave your office door. Think about how you want the evening to go. You can't control how it's going to go, right? But think about how you want to show up in the evening. What kind of experience do you want your kids to have of you this evening? Who do you want them seeing coming through the door? Somebody who's frustrated and angry and short-tempered, somebody who's distracted, somebody who's not engaged, or somebody who can't wait to engage with them because they're your number one priority this evening. What kind of experience do you want your spouse to have of you when you walk through that door? Again, that door could literally be your office door. But getting recentered again on your purpose, who you want to be, how you want to show up, and what is required of you when you engage with your family. That step before you end your day, your work day is not done until you have both released the stress, reloaded on what the focus is for tomorrow so you can let tomorrow be without worrying about it tonight, and recentered yourself on what really matters, on who you want to be, how you want to show up, what you want the experience of you to be from the perspective of those you care about the most. If you follow these 3 steps, these 3 keys, you will be able to be present at home and shut work off mentally. 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, that's all it takes. Put it in your calendar, make it a rhythm, and know that it won't be perfect from the get-go. But if you practice this over and over again, eventually you'll get there.